if you're installing sort of an artificial base with boulders, you're already creating that barrier that will protect your shoreline and safeguard whatever you need to safeguard on the coast. So you have this kind of immediate breakwater, but by planting the corals, you are ensuring that that breakwater remains as such and actually gets better and improves with time. So it is without the additional costs. So it is, as far as I see it, it is a win-win situation on both sides. Our work can be classified into 3 different major steps. So the first one is really, we have a coral hatchery. That's where we produce the corals. We produce them from larvae and grow them until they are large enough that we can actually transfer them to here, which is our ocean-based nursery. What it is then is pyramid-shaped frames, which we call also our coral gardens. And on these frames, we secure tiles upon which our small juvenile corals are grown. And what we have to do is, at that size, they are very vulnerable to various pressures in the natural environment. So, for example, algal growth. Algae grow faster than corals. If we don't go and remove the algae or clean around the corals, then the algae will suffocate the corals and stop their growth. And so we keep them in this ocean-based nursery until they are large enough to be able to sustain the natural pressures of the reef without our care. And at that point, we transfer them directly onto the reef base. And what we are doing is we're using them to actually fortify any reef that is key to coastal protection in Bermuda. So coral reefs are actually one of the best breakwaters. They dissipate up to 85% of the storm waves, which is substantial. So what we've been working on is the Causeway breakwater, which is on the other side of Castle Harbor, which is this inshore body of water. And the Causeway is a bridge that links the international airport with most of Bermuda. So it's a key infrastructure, obviously, for visitors, for residents, and inevitably it gets damaged from storm and hurricane waves. Back in 2004, when there was a huge Category 4 hurricane that hit Bermuda, the Department of Public Works actually built an artificial breakwater that partially protects the causeway. You can actually see it as you drive across. You'll see big boulders that are above the water line. And that has actually proved very efficient in breaking the waves so that there is no damage to the causeway and people can still catch their flights when the airport's open. But what happens is with these artificial breakwaters is, because of water currents, waves, etc., the boulders actually, there's a lot of movement and scour so that the whole structure is unstable and you have boulders that actually fall off and topple. So last year, when we had quite a few corals of large size, which were on our coral gardens, we proposed to actually use them and plant them on these big boulders, which are approximately 1 meter cubed, so that as the corals are planted and they grow, they actually end up growing and spanning boulders and basically cementing them together, really joining them and fortifying this breakwater. So instead of having a dead barrier, which requires maintenance, which is unstable, you end up building progressively a living breakwater, which is much more sustainable for the long run. And so those are basically our 3 steps. So step 1 is a coral hatchery, where we produce the corals. Step 2 is the ocean-based nursery, where we take our small corals and get them acclimated to the natural environment until they're large enough that we can then take them and cement them on this breakwater to protect Bermuda's coastline.